Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over an anti-meta team. So I'll just say outright that if you're running anti-meta, you're going to be at risk definitely to the non-meta teams also. So the reason that we'll just go into it a little bit. The reason the meta teams are meta teams is because the Mon are successful against a plethora of different Mon. Whereas when you're going with an anti-meta pick, even just one pick, you're targeting something specific. So if you don't get to that specific Mon, sometimes the results may vary. But I will say, luckily this season is an extreme amount of water Pokemon. I went over that in one of the videos. So my anti-meta pick for today is going to be Ferrothorn, and I actually played it for a few days, this team. It's very good. So we actually have a ton of battles to be able to go through since I played it so much. The team's going to be Azumarill in the front, Ferrothorn for any water switches, and then Umbreon just as a safe, bulky swap. So we have bulky lead, bulky back, and then that anti-meta pick right there in the middle to hopefully catch someone off guard. So if you haven't, definitely hit the subscribe button so that you can come back to any of the videos coming up. And let's go ahead and get into this video. All right, so first team here with the Mandibuzz lead, obviously very good. Since we have that extreme anti-meta pick here against this Whiscash, I decided to stay in for a little bit more energy on the Azumarill. Kind of unnecessary, I think. Possibly shouldn't do that, especially against the Shadow Whiscash, since the matchup with Mandibuzz is so dominant. Not necessarily something we want to go for. But, you know, if we ever land any moves here against the Whiscash, it's going to get taken out. It's already at half HP just off of the Bullet Seeds, which are also double super effective. But if you know anything about Bullet Seed, it doesn't really do that much damage. So the fact that it's able to do so much there, great. I go for the CMP here. I assume that I won CMP against Mandibuzz, which is pretty good here for us. They were trying to get their Mandibuzz out of here with enough HP, with a ton of HP to do something in the back. And you'll see, actually, it's a good thing to say here. My secondary move is Thunder because there are so many, how do you want to say it? So there are Skarmories, but it is just better against Steel in general, which my team is pretty weak against, especially you see here with the Registeel. I just have to kind of stay in with the Azumarill. Again, our health doesn't really matter against that Mandibuzz, so I decided to take the hit there before switching, and Umbreon is my best matchup against this Registeel anyways, because we have shields. It has Focus Blast, which will do a ton of damage, but we have shields to sort of stop that damage from coming through, and we'll be able to survive one anyways. They end up going for the bait, and we get the attack lowered. Really unlucky here. Our timer is distended, so we know Mandibuzz is going to be coming back in at some point. They do end up catching on me. I did not think it was up just yet. That's fine. We have to let every move Mandibuzz throws at Umbreon through. And actually, even though my timer is up, I actually just want to have Umbreon with a ton of energy back to go back into that Reggie matchup. We're just going to be wanting to land moves against the Reggie since we don't have anything super effective. And then again, this matchup's so good for us. We'll definitely live in Aerial Ace. I think we're at the Ice Beam here, and that's going to take out the Mandibuzz. I was about to say that's GG, but no, Registeel is still alive in the back. This game's just been going on forever. This is 1.5 speed. So you can imagine, I think the switch timer ends up coming up in this matchup, if I remember right. So I wanted to go for the farm down here, and then I think I remember this game, even though this was a few days ago. I remember the timer does show at some point here, and I know that I can't really just mess around, because I try to get to multiple moves here. This is definitely going to take out the Registeel, and that's going to be GG. Because even if the timer comes back up, that Mandibuzz is super low in the back. It's probably 2 snarls away from getting KO'd. All right, GG. So Registeel is something to look out for. The number one, we have the mirror match here. I don't try to go for CMP usually, but yeah. I actually played it. Okay, I was going to say something. Let me finish this thought first. So the thing that we're actually most scared to see is Charjabug, and I will say there weren't many Charjabug lead games that I won. There are a few, and they're in this video. But I think I did lose to like 3 different Charjabug lead teams, if I'm just being honest with y'all. This team And this is something I was doing a lot actually also, was in the Azumarill mirror match, I would try to catch the second play rough if I noticed they threw exactly on 6, because I don't know, when I see someone throw exactly on 6, I just feel like they're going to be throwing exactly on that every time. I go for improper timing here against this Sableye because I know I'm not going to make it if I try to throw on proper timing, because I'm going to get Shadow Claw down. We do take the shield advantage. Now is a real decision. I think I end up coming in with a Azumarill. Might have been a bad choice here. I don't know. This return actually does a lot. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to come in with a Azumarill or Umbreon, but yeah, maybe we should have come in with Umbreon, because now that Azumarill's in the back, but we do have a 2-shield lead. I'm probably going to make it to this play rough. Azumarill's super bulky on both sides, so it's not going to do a ton. But yeah, we're going to go to Umbreon now. Well, we have to. He's our last Mon, but I know that I can use both of the shields here. Play rough is probably the strongest move left, unless there's a Registeel in the back, in which case the game's already over. I actually try to go for one before opponent catches. You know, I mean, the longer the season goes and the higher your rating gets, or the higher your win percentage gets, or your winning number gets, obviously opponents are going to be better and better. So this person caught on a Mon that's really bad against Umbreon. Again, we have to save the shield for the super effective move, but I think I can farm this down and then actually regain that energy advantage I had against the Azumarill in the beginning. So now we just have to go for 2 last resorts. This looked like CMP, but it also could be the game lagging. Oh, it looks like it was the game lagging on entry, which happens from time to time. It sucks. Definitely not how it's supposed to play out, but it's okay. I mean, at least, well, you'd say at least it's happening on both sides, but it's so random. Sometimes it happens to only you, sometimes it happens to only them, and that's unfair in both situations. So Stunfisk lead here is pretty good for us. I'm going to bait a Hydro Pump if they let me. I'm just also going to let Azumarill go down. All of our Mon are pretty good against this. At the very least neutral, and then Azumarill is our best matchup into it. I go for the fake Hydro Pump here. I believe they don't end up shielding, so yeah. I do think we outpace to the second one though, but I don't think it KOs, and I think it ends up being at 1 HP, if I remember this game correctly. And yeah, they get another Earthquake off. But obviously we're going to live from this, but a little devastating to take that damage. They actually end up hard switching. And then I decide I'm going to let Azu go. I don't care about the energy here. Oh, no, they got KO'd. Okay, that makes more sense, because I don't want to get locked out of this matchup. This is a very good matchup for me. And then if the back is just something really random, at least Umbreon, and not super effective against Umbreon. Umbreon's decent into all of his matchups because he's just super bulky. Ends up being the Pelipper. They take the first hit because they know I'm not at a Thunder, but Pelipper is very squishy, and obviously this Grass Knot did a ton. They go for the Hurricane on us. I actually think they end up going for double Hurricane and KOing us, because I think they shield this. And then they shield this, and then I just let the Hurricane go through because, well, one, I don't really need... I don't want to get baited by a Weather Ball here, so I'm just fine letting this go through because we would have lived a Weather Ball. But... at the same time, it's a little risky, but we do have shields. I mean, we have shields here for the Pelipper. I'm just going to shield. It's probably Weather Ball is probably stronger than Surf. I mean, it definitely is, because Pelipper is attack weighted. And then the whole point is we don't really need shields with Ferrothorn against Lantern. It's just a super good matchup. I mean, this is literally the anti-water here, right? And this Mon doesn't have any sort of coverage that can hit grass. I do end up shielding because, I mean, why not? They're at their last Mon here, and I need to make sure that it doesn't outpace me. I think it already had 2 wing attacks. It's crazy because I'm just remembering this matchup, and I remember they had a 2 wing attack lead. All right, Scrafty in the lead. I think I said in 2 videos back, I couldn't believe someone had a Scrafty on their team. This guy has a Scrafty, and watch this. It's Acid Spray. Okay, and then I was like, I don't know what that means. And then they come into Umbreon here, or not Umbreon, they come into Bastiodon, and I didn't know what to do for a little bit here, because I was like, I know Umbreon loses this, but I also know Ferrothorn loses this. I'm just going to come in with Ferrothorn because it deals more damage. But the one thing is you must shield Ferrothorn because Flamethrower is double super effective. Now we see we're getting it really close to half HP. And the main problem here is that I'm definitely going to have to shield again. But luckily I know I don't need shields against the Scrafty. Well, hopefully it does have Acid Spray at the end of the day. But I'm just going to bank on me having a Azumarill. And my switch timer is just a little distended because, yeah, you guys know it already. I switched so slow into the Bastion because I had no idea what to switch to. This person's team's very weak against Azumarill, with Hydro Pump especially, and then super weak to fighting. But to be fair, there's not a ton of fighting in the meta, like pure fighting. Even Hakamo, if it had counter, Hakamo O, it would be devastating to this team. But without counter, there is some play still, so that's fine. I know I can't let Umbreon in this matchup, so I'm sacrificing Ferrothorn again here. And if they come in with Bastiodon, I'm just going to do the damage and let go. Probably should have not even thrown this move, but it's okay. It ends up being Hypno, and that's a very easy... I recover from my not throwing the move by going for extra energy there, and then we have a little bit of a lead here, but we need to throw 2 foul plays to KO this. I know they're not at a... Well, they could be at a Stone Edge, but ends up KOing, and then obviously, if you guys have been to this channel, you know Hypno against Umbreon. This is a horrific matchup for Hypno from all the times that I play Hypno. I actually haven't tried to play Hypno this season yet. I actually think it would be okay. The only thing is it's so much slower than all the Mon nowadays because it takes you 8 turns to get to one of the punches, and that's just horrific. Just a word to the wise here. I would not throw a move normally. I don't know. I don't know if scare is the word. I just got indecisive, I think, here. I should have just switched right away, not really thought about what was happening. I didn't know it was a Quagsire, but I at the very least knew that it was a Mudboy. It probably was Cash. But, yeah, should have just went into Ferrothorn here and kept the energy on Azu. If anything, I could have gone up to 3 more than normal. They don't know I don't have the Thunder here. I believe this person didn't shield, actually, which is wild. I actually thought it was Pelipper for a second. This time I end up going for it, and they definitely shield. I do remember this game as well. You know, it doesn't mean much to y'all because you're just seeing the video now, but I played these games over these sets I played over the last 2 or 3 days because I used this team in probably 10 sets. So I'm surprised I remember any of this. But yeah, going into neutral versus neutral matchup, this is fine. I don't care that much. And then Azu obviously is doing great against Goodra. The only thing that Goodra has against Azu is definitely the Power Whip. So, I mean, yeah, that's going to be super effective, but the rest of it's kind of not going to do anything. I also don't care about this move, and I'm just going to farm it down, and then I can throw these moves. I can throw these foul plays into Goodra anyways, which is going to do a ton. But I switch. The problem with Goodra or any dragons is that Fairy double resists Dragon. So what usually would destroy teams is the Dragon Breaths, is actually doing nothing to Azu. So that's the one thing. And I think I said in the last video, Dragon types are everywhere right now, so maybe Azu is actually a good anti-meta choice too, as well as Ferrothorn. Also, Ferrothorn's a steel type. It's going to be anti-dragon, anti-water. So yeah, maybe Azu is also kind of an anti-meta pick right now, which is kind of weird to say, considering Azu's been such a staple in Open Great League until Bubble got nerfed, and then Bubble got buffed, and then, yeah, and then Azu came back kind of, but I haven't seen it too much this season, to be honest. But it seems like it's pretty good. This is a neutral matchup, so I decided just to stay in it. Yeah, Ice Beam. You can go Ice Beam or play rough. I've seen a lot of people go play rough. This is another good reason to play this team. You have the Umbreon against the Lickitung. You're not scared of these licks at all, so I go for the extra energy. We saw that in one of the previous matchups also. Just getting that extra energy onto Azu is so good because Azu has amazing typing, but it also has pretty good moves. The only thing is it gets to those moves so slowly. So if I can expedite that by getting extra energy in a back matchup that I know I'm going to win anyways, great. Now Azu's going to be insane later, right? So that's one of the things maybe everyone should be focusing on, myself included, because you've also seen I threw Ice Beam into that Quagsire for no reason. So everyone's got to work on it, including myself. I'm definitely not an exception. All right, back to this very slow matchup. Again, we know we're going to win the matchup, but it does take a lot of time. I'm not going to waste a shield on Umbreon. Umbreon, just like in the old days when I used Umbreon with the Scrafty team, is kind of just there to soak damage. That's what he's good for, and he's very good at that. This is obviously going to KO. Pelipper's super squishy. They end up shielding. I'm definitely not going to shield. I go for one more bubble than I need or one more bubble once they already switched in, so I could have switched out to get that extra energy to make sure I had an Ice Beam loaded. But this game's really over. Dedenne, I actually thought last season, especially in Pokemon Play, that Dedenne actually could have been a really good anti-meta pick, but it is very squishy. But in this matchup, obviously, Grass kind of resists everything. Well, I guess the Grass resists the Electric, and then the Steel resists the Fairy, and those are the only types of moves that Dedenne has, so I'm fully resisting it. Don't care too much. Even, yeah, this is not going to KO or anything, so I'll just take the hit. I do know Switch is coming up, and we do have the Ice Beam, so I go for the Ice Beam here, and then we're just going to be able to bubble down the Dedenne, so... Bubble got buffed last season. It's going to be easily enough to take out Dedenne here. It's our boy Hackmo, but obviously it's very bad against Azumarill. Now this matchup's kind of weird. They could have Ice Beam or Crunch and their Shadow. Even this Hydro Cannon just did a ton of damage. It's crazy, this matchup. So technically you are outpacing only because the first one you live no matter what. So they don't live any of the Power Whips. So when I say outpacing, I mean outpacing the shields, not necessarily outpacing the number of moves, because you definitely don't outpace for Alligator, but we can outpace the shields and win all the shield scenarios because we're not KO'd by one, and they are. That's definitely something to keep in mind. I throw on bad timing here because I just want to get rid of this. The clock was up. I was in danger possibly of getting switched on, but it's okay. Hackmo's gonna get a little bit of a lead here, but again, Azu doesn't need anything to beat this. They have Charge-a-Bug. So you heard me earlier saying how Charge-a-Bug is very tough for this team, but it's mainly in the lead when they have the decision to keep their shields for the Charge-a-Bug. If Charge-a-Bug's in the back, Ferrothorn's not too bad against it. Umbreon's not too bad against it. Even Azu's not that bad, especially when shields are down. It just is taking it's going to be taking a lot of damage from the charge attacks. But you have to have a body to sacrifice, and we're sacrificing the Umbreon here. And we're actually probably going to sacrifice a lot of HP on this Azu because I don't think I'm going to get to an Ice Beam before they get to a move. Yeah, they're already at a move. But I think I could farm down from here, and then... a good thing to think about is Play Rough is double super effective against, I almost said Como-O, against Hakamo-O, because it is fighting and Dragon, and Fairy is super effective against both of those. So we know we just have to get to one move to KO that, and it's not really pressuring us. Shadow Machamp. Azu obviously resists fighting. Shadow Machamp, though, is like the original fast attack damage dealer. It just does a ton of damage. Look at this. Our Azu's below half HP before we get to a move. This is why I said earlier in the video, while Azumarill has great typing and pretty good moves, it's very slow to get to its moves. When I say pretty good moves, I mean coverage moves. It's very slow to get to its moves. So even in this bad matchup, it's testing a bit of the bulk of Azu, but we can win the matchup anyways. They end up coming in with Drapion, so I just switch right away to Umbreon. This matchup's terrible. Umbreon just hard loses this, but it is good for us because we have the Ferrothorn in the back for the Drapion. But this match will last until the clock is up, and I can't switch without them switching because I want Azu on this as well. But it definitely is going to be up to them whether or not they want to stay in these matchups, because this is just two Pokemon hitting each other forever, just like the Lickitung matchup against the Umbreon. So as you can see, the clocks are up. Anything could be happening now. I definitely don't want to throw a foul play into Drapion, but also we're about to lose this matchup. So they do come in Drapion, and I decide I will keep my clock up by allowing... Oh no, I switched, I remember. And this is going to be in Power Whip range. Nothing really affects us for the first one, plus they could just be going Crunch, and we don't want to get debuffed. We don't want to shield a debuff, because we could get hurt later, and that's what's happening now. They threw it way too fast. I knew it was definitely not even a crunch there. But yeah, the whole point happened right here. If you shield the first one and you get the defense drop during the shield, it means those subsequent ones are actually going to do more damage. And since you're not threatened by the first one, you might as well not be threatened by it. They end up catching our Power Whip, which is rough. But we still have 3 Mon. Azu still has a lot of HP. I actually end up going into Azu for the farm down here. And now I have the Ice Beam for the Drapion, and that's GG. I also have the Play Rough, which technically does a little bit more damage, but they're both neutral. And yeah. Alright, Gligar, super good lead for us, but I believe this person ends up switching into Vigoroth. And then I was like, okay, well, Azu's my best answer for Vigoroth. I'll figure out how to deal with Gligar later. Both of our Mon are okay against Gligar in the back. I mean, Umbreon is the best of the two. But if I can't decide who's going to come in against the Gligar, then both of them will do fine with it. Yeah. So end up going for the Ice Beam here. It will KO. I believe this person just lets this go, which is actually pretty good for me. But it means they probably have a hard Azu counter in the back, and I don't want to switch. Well, yeah, I'm not too sure. They actually, oh god, yeah, they do have a hard counter. But luckily it's something that Ferrothorn is insanely good against. So what I want to do here is actually just gain a little bit of energy, just in case they swap. I want to throw Foul Play into everything here anyways, including the Gligar is what I mean. So yeah, just going to throw the Foul Plays. If they catch, they catch. Same thing that happened with the Bastiodon. I didn't really care that they caught the Ferrothorn move, because it was going to be neutral either way. Well, Drapion would have resisted, but he was low enough to where it would have KO'd anyways. So they end up staying this whole time, which sucks for me. But then they eventually switch, and then I'm going to probably come in with Azu, let them throw a move at Azu, because Azu is, again, super bulky, so we're able to get to this move. Or we're able to survive, what I mean. Yeah, we're able to survive the wing attacks. And since we're going to get the shield, we actually have an advantage now. And the Gligar is going to be doing the strongest moves left in this game, because Lantern only throws resisted moves, and both the moves from the Gligar, including the fast attack as well, so all 3 moves deal neutral damage to Ferrothorn. So this is just a matter of time. Also, if they catch here, it's kind of okay too. It's not a big deal. Although, yeah, it's not a huge deal, because we're going to be able to get to a move onto this Gligar anyways. Although I remember getting super low, and I end up throwing on bad timing here because I wanted to throw before they got to another move. Just a greedy play by me, but kind of doesn't matter. We're going to get to this Power Whip anyways. Yeah, and that's going to be GG's. Obviously, it was a good lead, but I wanted to show that battle because it was a bad switch for us, but just thinking on the fly, something we should be doing. So this is a good matchup for Azu. I have been noticing a lot of people just going for the Scald debuffs lately, but we'll see what this guy did. I don't remember. Scald, yeah, a lot of people going for the debuffs. We did get debuffed, so that sucks. But Azu's good into this. The only thing we would really want is, we actually really want them to switch out, because we'd rather have Ferrothorn on this at some point, and Ferrothorn farming this down would be even better. So yeah, we're going to take the double Mud Bombs here before we get to the Play Rough, but we're still very far ahead in this matchup, and at least we'll have switch advantage, which is still something. I throw in bad timing because I want to get as much energy as possible. They can shield, and if they shield, I'll just not care that much because we still have Ferrothorn, right? And they end up going for the full farm down. I'm actually just going to farm this down with Ferrothorn. They're going to get at least 2 moves off. Maybe they get 3, but I kind of doubt it since it's double super effective. Seed bombs, yeah. If it was just single super effective, they definitely would have made it to 3 moves here on anything. But yeah, seed bomb being double super effective is pretty nice. They end up coming in with a Skarmory. Makes sense. The Skarmory Whiscash core is still alive and well, is still very good. If that's a team y'all want to try out, obviously that team's been around forever in the form of Swampert and Skarmory before it was very good before Whiscash became very good. I ended up going for a CMP here, which is a really bad decision. I just didn't understand the timing. I just made a mistake. You definitely want to get the extra in if you can. And you'll always get an extra in if you're only 1 away. Unlucky enough, we're 3 away, but 3's under as well. You're just giving them 3 extra turns, which not great, but we're just trying to do the damage to this while we still can. And then we end up getting 2 turns back here anyways. And the good thing about this not being Charge-a-Bug is that it's squishy. And I was already lunged, so I wanted to switch, and I actually ended up getting an extra seed bomb in underneath. And I was actually trying to do that. I didn't misclick or anything. I was trying to get that 1 extra seed bomb underneath the Volt Switch, since it's 4 turns and ours was 3, and we switched from a 3-turn to a 4-turn move anyways. Hippowdon in the front, and then Araquanid, and then I was like, what do I do against Araquanid? But now that I think about it, it's so easy. I should have just come in Ferrothorn right away. But it's okay. I'm just going to go for the play rough here. And at this point, now I figure out I'm coming in with a Ferrothorn. The only thing that's scary is Bug Buzz is neutral, but we have Thunder. So Thunder is super effective. Because I was thinking about the Power Whip, and I was like, I know Arachnid is pretty bulky. I think it ends up in like the 36 to 39 level range. I remember when it came out, and I got a pretty good one. Pretty high rank one, I should say. So I know that it's somewhere in the 30s. Level-wise, so it's pretty bulky. They're definitely gonna come back in with Hippowdon, which also has a new move, Sand Attack, and that animation looks interesting. I think it looks good, but I know this thing gets to its moves super quick. I just don't know exactly I didn't know what moves it had necessarily. I know it has Weather Ball Rock, which were probably pretty low. That a Shadow one's definitely gonna KO. I think if you have the Shadow Hippowdon, you should definitely try it out, by the way. It's so fast to get to its moves. And it actually ends up having Scorching Sand, which I learned in this matchup. Then I thought it was Toxapex for a second, and I was like, oh no, we lost. But it ends up being a Quillfish. So Quillfish, a little better for us because it's going to be a lot squishier, but it's going to do a lot more damage. And if they hit us with another Sludge Wave, we'll get KO'd. So definitely need to stay away from that. But they end up just taking this move here, and I start to think to myself, I'm going to let Umbreon go because this is pretty low that it's definitely an Ice Beam range. And they actually end up throwing an Aqua Tail here. They end up baiting because they think we're super scared of it, which before I was, but I'm not scared anymore. Hippowdon switch timers back up, so I don't want to get a double hit here, so I switch back into Azu. I go for the Ice Beam, KO this, and I don't think they're going to be able to farm us down before we get to another Ice Beam. Actually, I think the Bubbles will just KO. I don't know. This is a close one. I think the Bubbles will just KO. No, we'll get to the Ice Beam. Okay, but this was a very close match. We have 2 shields. They are at 2 Aqua Tails. Obviously, an Aqua Tail will KO even though it's resisted. We're super low. But we have 2 shields, so GG. Really tough game. Again, if you have Shadow Hippowdon, maybe I do have it. You know, if I do have it, I'll make a video on it. Oh yeah, that's the end of the video. All right, so thanks again for coming by. And yeah, definitely Ferrothorn is very good anti-meta. Like I said, just because of the way it works is the anti-meta is not meta for a reason. And the reason is you're not going to beat a lot of neutral stuff. It feels like, although Ferrothorn's been good, I think, for a lot of seasons, but it's been just under S tier. You don't really see a lot of people using it. I don't think I've seen anyone use it much this season. I think we ran into the one Ferrothorn, but I haven't seen any like YouTubers use it or anything. But it has been very good for a long time. Anyways, thanks for coming by, and I'll see you in the next one.